Welcome back, everyone. Phoenix 3 here, and I kind of want to talk about something that's been bugging me lately. And as you can see by the title of this video, what exactly happened with the Pokemon trading card game online. This is something that I kind of wanted to say something about, but couldn't really think of anything really to say because I mean, it wasn't all that bad. Like the way the game first started, we had controls over things like game performance and most importantly, the animations that the cards have. And it was really nice to be able to turn those off because it allowed you to have quick games where you didn't have to watch animations and all this other stuff. Like the way things are now, every card has an animation. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think overall it's better for the game because it makes the game more inviting for players. But I'm a competitive player and I like to be able to get as many games in as possible before I get bored with the game and go do something else. And when I have to watch the animations, then my time with the game kind of just goes down. So whereas before I could get maybe 6, 7 games before I got bored with it, now I can only get like maybe 3, and that's really pushing it for me. Like if you've played the main Pokemon games, you have the option to either watch all the in-game animations or turn them off. So if you were in a battle and you wanted to say didn't want to watch a 12-second Brave Bird animation, then you didn't have to watch that 12-second Brave Bird animation. You could just turn it off. And that's the good thing because you want to play through those games as quickly as possible, especially if you're playing the in-game story where battles happen all the time. Maybe you just want to speed them up a little bit and not watch the battles because you can't skip the battles. So the next best thing was just not sitting there as long as you needed to. But ever since, not the recent update, but when they made that change, you can't skip the animations anymore. You have to sit down and watch them. And attacks that do under 100 damage have a fairly quick animation. You still have to watch it. But attacks that do over 100 damage have an extended animation where you have to sit there and watch it. And I simply don't like that. I just want to be able to turn them off and go on with the game. At least before, I believe it was, you could just click the screen and it would just cancel the animation if you didn't want to watch it. But you could just turn them off altogether, and now you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to flip for coins. You didn't have to do any of that. It just came up, got the result, next thing. But you can't do that anymore. And that was kind of annoying. Still, it kind of grew on us, and we just kind of accepted it as something. It's like, it's not that big a deal. I'll just play a game or two and then I'm done. But this is the recent update that really bugged me. First of all, the update broke some things. And when they did release the update, they didn't fix things like Ninja Boy at the time, which was just kind of sitting there. And now there are some other cards that you can't even use. There's a theme deck that I don't even have yet because they pulled it from the system. You can't use Greedy Dice and some other thing. So I don't know when those are going to be fixed. I don't even know if it's even a priority for them. But the biggest thing that I simply can't understand was the removal of the chat system. I I can't understand the reason to do this. And part of me is saying that this is the reason nobody really takes Nintendo seriously because they want to have these competitive games that you can play online with friends or random people, but not actually have a way to communicate with them. And for me, being able to chat with my opponents sometime was the fun thing to do. If I was playing a deck to complete a challenge or whatever, I'll let them know, I'm playing a deck to complete a challenge. Can you let me do it? If my opponent's trying to complete a challenge and I notice it, I'd ask them, are you trying to complete a challenge? And if so, I'm going to act accordingly so you can potentially have one less game to do something with. Then you can go on doing your other thing. But no, you can't even do that anymore. They give you like what 4 canned responses and emotes. Now what they did do was give you the option to mute an opponent if you don't want to hear them talk or emote or whatever towards you, and that's fine. But if that was their goal anyway, was to add a system to mute the opponent, then why remove chat? Because if you don't want to hear anybody talk to you, you can just mute them and be done with it and not ruin the experience for everybody else. And that's the way I feel right now. I feel like my experience with the game has now been ruined because I like the social side of Pokemon. I like being able to talk to my opponents. Yeah, sometimes you trash talk each other, or you get salty or whatever. It comes with the game. It happens. But for the most part, we enjoy the ability to talk with our opponents. We don't want to sit there and just play the game sometimes because that's not how the Pokemon trading card game is played. Even in tournaments, you're laughing with your opponent, you're talking with them, you're congratulating them for making good moves, and there's discourse to be had with the players. And that's the fun part of Pokemon. It's not just a robotic, I'm gonna play this card, attack you, and then I have to pick one of four responses for my opponent. That's not how it is. It feels like this here is still on their agenda of protecting the children from the world. And there's just nothing to do with that. Yes, you have vulgar players in your game, and I'm a very vulgar player. But that doesn't come into my game. I mean, unless I'm playing with friends, then yeah. But I'm not gonna just, curse out some random person, especially a kid in a game. Are you kidding me? No, I'm not gonna ever do that. And a lot of people aren't gonna do that. And removing the chat system removes legitimate discussion between players either trying to improve or compliment somebody for their deck or, something like that. And I just can't understand the decision to do that. And the only reason to do that is if they're sitting there trying to protect the kids. But what they did add was the ability to see Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres and some other starter Pokemon or evolutions when you log into the game. Because that's important. We have to have that. But no, we can't have a chat system. I just don't understand what happened with the game. Like, the game used to be fun. And don't get me wrong, the online game is still fun. But being able to talk with your opponents is fun. And especially in the age of esports now where everything is being streamed, everything is being recorded and posted online, if I were to come across somebody like Yellow Swellow, for example, a person I really love to watch, I'd be like, oh snap, it's you. I like your videos. Hopefully I can give you a good game. But now I can't even do that simply because, what? Somebody got offended? And that's the thing, is when you start doing things to appeal to the minority, because this is a minority group, by the way, then you really start to hurt the majority of the player base. And we like the ability to use our chat. Sure, we didn't use it every game, but it was nice that it was there. And its removal makes it seem like there was something inherently wrong with the system, and it wasn't. So they need to find a way to bring this back. Not even bring it back, because there was nothing wrong with it. They just need to bring it back. Still give us the ability to mute players we don't want to talk to, but don't punish those of us who do legitimately use the chat system for something like that. And on top of that, the chat system, what, before, it still censored words. So it's not like if you were to say fuck you to somebody that they would actually see it. It'll just put an emote down and you're done. So the chat system worked. So I don't understand what the point is of removing the actual chat system and replacing it with canned responses. I mean, I don't think there's anything else about the update that really bothered me. They changed the way the deck boxes look. I don't necessarily, care for it. They changed some of the animations, like now when a Pokemon gets knocked out, they don't immediately turn to the sideways upon taking the damage. It happens after the end of everything. So there are some times where I thought I missed a knockout because, that didn't happen, but that's just taking some time to get used to. But the biggest thing about this is that they don't seem to really be listening to what the players want. And the biggest thing that we want was the ability to turn off animations, shorten them, or skip them altogether. But they somehow got out of it that they needed to remove the chat system. For what reason, I don't know. And this here is a problem with the Pokemon Company. Now, somebody did bring up to me that Hearthstone does the exact same thing too. They have a can chat system with emotes, and that the game is still purely online. But unlike Pokemon, Hearthstone isn't a physical card game you can play. It's only an online game. And even then, I still think there needs to be some type of chat system between the players so you can have meaningful discourse. You can learn certain things like that. But Pokemon is a game that also has a physical version of it as well. And you play it with your friends, you play it with people, you go to tournaments, you talk, you make friends, you have a good time. And the whole part of that is being able to talk with people, and they took that ability away from you to do that online. And to me, this comes across as a form of censorship. And if you know me, you already know I do not like censorship. So that's all that I wanted to say about this. I wonder if any of you had some of the same issues as well. I've been watching a lot of videos, post update, and this here is a common thing that comes up is you can't talk to opponents anymore. And I think that's the biggest loss that we've had with this update. It's not even so much about glitches and stuff like that, because those are bound to happen, and when they do happen, they will be fixed or removed or suspended in the case of Ninja Boy, which is now fixed. But things like greedy dice and card interaction between decks. But the removal of the system makes it seem like there was something wrong with the chat system, and it wasn't. If there was an exploit or something that could be used with it, they didn't tell us what it was in the patch notes. It's gone. And they're making this new chat system. I'm not even calling it a chat system because it's not one. But they're calling this new way to interact with your opponent a better experience. And this is not a better experience. So I don't want to keep you here too long. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video now. I hope you enjoyed this video. And as everyone else, if you don't like this, voice your concern about it, because this is going to be the only way we're going to get the system back or force some kind of change. So as always, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch my videos, and I hope to see you all in the next one.